Welcome back to the Crypto Father channel. Today is the 26th of May. There is a lot of disgruntled crypto holders out there suggesting that it may be a good time to sell, that tops are in and it may be a good time to take some profits. We did hit all-time highs on Bitcoin and some other cryptos. Actually, none other, just Bitcoin. So maybe it is a good time to take some profits now. I'll get into the nitty-gritty details of why these suggestions are circulating around. Rabbit Mining has made some suggestions, and Dan Crypto Trades has also made some suggestions along those lines. But before I do get into those topics, let's have a quick look at the crypto market, see where we're standing. Presently, $3.5 trillion in market cap, 91 billion in trading volume. Bitcoin is at 107,000, Ethereum 2,500. So despite the fact that Bitcoin is retraced and Ethereum is retraced and all the other cryptos have retraced somewhat, their prices are holding quite well overall. Cardano at 74 cents, Monero at $410. This is one in particular that Rabbit Mining was suggesting to sell at $3.99. Litecoin $94 retracement from retraced from over $100, and Polkadot has dropped below $5 again. Looking at the charts, this is what Bitcoin. This is on the weekly. On the daily, Bitcoin is looking like so. So we had a good run up to $112,000, and then there was a massive candle retracement, basically covering the two candles that were floating freely here without any retracement back on them. And come to think of it, there's also this massive candle that has not been recovered just yet, basically, so we could still see Bitcoin dip 96,000. Of course, there's also these. I don't think this space will be recovered until bear market comes in. So we had this recovery right here, and when we look on the weekly, when you look at the Bitcoin weekly charts, you got to keep in mind that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green weeks in a row. 7 green weeks in a row on Bitcoin. And so right now, this week is also a green week. It's not even a red week. We have seen a massive retracement on the daily chart, a massive red candle on the daily, but on the weekly, it is still a very green week. And again, 7 weeks in a row of green candles that's a pretty good pump, you gotta say. There's no reason for panic just yet. If in doubt, zoom out, as they say. So Dan Crypto Trades, Bitcoin, not a great looking weekly candle. I'm not sure what weekly candle he's talking about. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he's talking about this weekly candle, which now is looking a little bit different. This weekly candle looks a lot different than the one that Dan here was looking at. Again, there is always retracements, but keep in mind that 7 green weeks is rather unusual. If you look at the past history, just recently, over the past little while here, look at the volume chart, you've got basically 7 green candles, 2 red, 2 green, 2 red, 1 week. So this is in weeks, yeah. Green week, 3 red, 2 green, 1 red, 1 green, 2 green, and so on. So there's literally like very few times, with the exception of, when was this? Back in November of 2023, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, where we had 8 weeks in a row of green, of fundamentals, and so that was Bitcoin going from 26,000 all the way to 44,000. And since then, we've not had once a run up of 7 green weeks in a row. So don't panic. This is a very good pump we're experiencing. Cointelegraph released an article, Bitcoin price expected to soar as global bond markets break. Here's why. Rising bond yields reflect growing concern about fiscal stability and inflation, leading some investors to question U.S. Treasury's traditional role as a safe haven asset. Bond yields are surging in the U.S. and Japan. Global growth is stalling, and consumer confidence in the U.S. is scraping historic lows. Paradoxically, the very macro conditions that once threatened Bitcoin's price are now fueling its rise. The shift speaks to a broader transformation in how investors interpret risk and where they seek refuge. At the center of this realignment is the US debt crisis and the ballooning treasury yields, which were once considered the safest assets in the world. When the US bond yields rise, the cost of servicing its national debt increases sharply, a critical issue given that US debt has now surpassed $36 trillion and the interest payments are expected to total $952 billion in 2025. For the first time since October 2021, the 5-year and 30-year bond spread has steepened to 1%. This suggests markets are pricing in stronger growth, persistent inflation, and a higher for longer rate environment. Compounding the problem is Japan, the largest foreign holder of US treasuries. Japanese investors currently hold 1.1 trillion in US government debt, 350 billion more than China. For decades, Japanese institutions borrowed cheaply at home to invest in US bonds and stocks, a strategy known as the carry trade. This era may be ending. In March 2024, the Bank of Japan started raising interest rates from negative 1% to 5% now, or from 0.1% to 0.5% now. Since April, the Japanese 30-year bond yield has surged by 100 basis points, reaching an all-time high of 3.1%. 20-year bond yields rose to 2.53%, a level not seen since 1999. Rabbit Mining made a couple of posts, not financial advice, but the peak for Monero is pretty much in. Don't fall into FOMO. Time to sell is here while the volume allows it. So this post, well, he made this post when Monero was at $399. Monero has pumped since then by almost $12, I believe. If you look at Monero 23, I think. Yep. Monero has had a 20% increase over the past 7 days. The all-time high for Monero was $542. So right now we're about close to $400. Pretty close to the peak. So according to Rabbit Mining, because of the amount of volume that Monero is right now experiencing and it's pushing hard, it might be a good time to sell while it's moving up, because in his mind, he also sold Bitcoin at 111,000, expecting a 3-month dip till we get back in for the ride to cycle peak in October, November. So this is a very long-term projection to October, November. I was under the impression that we'd be looking at August as the end date of the bull market. So I'm not sure that I agree with Rabbit Mining, but of course, nobody really knows which way the market's going, and we're going to have to wait and see. But before that, it's always good to take some profits. Personally, I haven't started taking profits just yet. I think we still have some legs up, and like I said, looking at the charts, this is a 7th week green, so we could see a red week. If we did see a red week, that would mean we'd probably see Bitcoin dip below $100,000 again. If we were to see another green week, that would be a very unusual occurrence. First one in close to over 2 years, I guess. Over a year and a half. So that would be an interesting sight to behold. So it might be that, statistically, it doesn't really matter that we didn't see, just because we saw 7 green weeks in a row doesn't mean that there's going to be a red one, right? Michael Saylor continues to pile up his stash of Bitcoin. Other institutional investors are making moves in that direction as well. So we might be seeing an 8th week of green candles for all we know. Monero just hit 1 billion shy of overtaking Stellar's market cap. I said I was going to look at the post-Trump dinner announcements. There is an article by CNBC at Trump's 148 million meme coin dinner. The food sucked and security was lax, attendee says. The price of Donald Trump's meme coin plunged 16% hours after the president hosted a black tie gala at his Virginia golf club for its biggest buyers. Also, you got to keep in mind that the price of Bitcoin has retraced immediately following the dinner, basically, which occurred on Thursday, exactly 2 days ago. And that's when we saw the red candle come in on the 23rd of May. Top 25 wallets were promised a private reception and guided tour. Others, such as 25-year-old Nicolas Pinto, whose dad drove him to the event in his Lamborghini, left underwhelmed and still hungry. The food sucked, Pinto said. It wasn't given any drinks other than water or Trump's wine. I don't drink, so I had water. My glass was only filled once. Trump made only a brief appearance. Pinto said he didn't talk to any of the 220 guests, maybe the top 25, he said. All in, the president was there for 23 minutes, Pinto said. Trump delivered a brief address, rehearsing old crypto talking points, then left on a helicopter before taking any questions or pictures with his meme coin contest winners, he said. Wow, yeah, that sounds like a high price tag for a dinner. Quite underwhelming, I guess, as he said. That's it for this Monday update. Make sure to smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell on your notifications so you get more notifications, and come back tomorrow on a Tuesday. Not a lot of news today from there isn't much happening, so I guess right now we're just going to sit back, chillax, and wait for the market to resurge back above the all-time highs. Make sure to pick up a Descent wallet during this lull. Stash your crypto on a Descent wallet. Get a discount with the ref code below the video. Stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow in another.